What's up? It's Jonathan, the basketball card guy, and you are watching the Basketball Card Show. On this episode, we're talking all about autographs. What's awesome about autographs? Well, I always feel like autographs are a part of the person that you're getting the autograph from. So if you get an autograph from a sports star or a celebrity, it feels like, man, they took the time to spend, just even if it was only for a few seconds, you got a piece of them. They signed their name, they maybe wrote an inscription, and you have something from them that you can keep for years and years to come. But how do you tell if an autograph is real or not if you weren't there to get it signed? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Starts off with certificates of authenticity. You guys probably see this a lot on eBay. They're called COAs. That's how it's abbreviated, Certificate of Authenticity. And basically, they're documents that are verifying the fact that something is real. It's certifying that an autograph is good. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that the autograph is real. In a lot of cases, it's just a company's opinion of the way that the autograph looks. So I thought today we'd take a look at some of the major companies that authenticate things and some of the different ways that you can actually look at their authentications to figure out, oh, okay, this is the level of certification I'm getting. So we start out, I have two PSA DNA autographed cards. One's a Magic Johnson autographed SPX card. The other one is a Dennis Rodman rookie card that was also autographed. Both of these are PSA authenticated authentic autographs. So they both passed PSA's check. But there is a very core difference between the two of them if you look closely. Not closely at the cards, but closely at the labels. You'll notice on the Magic Johnson, there's three important words that come underneath. And these are the words that I love when I see this on a PSA item. In the presence. In the presence. What does that mean? Well, and it actually has a date here too, 5/17/2014. That means on May 17th, 2014, someone from PSA was with Magic Johnson as he signed this card. So it wasn't just signed and then PSA looked at it. They were there. The person from PSA saw it being signed and authenticated the card at that time. This Dennis Rodman does not have that. Now, it doesn't mean it's not real. It just means that instead of that, PSA took a look at this card after it was autographed and rendered an opinion. So it is their opinion that this card was signed by Dennis Rodman. But you can see it's not the same as saying we watched it signed. So that's the important difference. And the same thing goes for jerseys, balls, all sorts of stuff that you can get signed. Not just cards, but if you look at the certificate of authenticity itself, at the language inside the certificate, you'll see exactly what they're certifying. In many cases, it just says it's our opinion, or we think the autograph is likely real. For me personally, I only really go after the witnessed autographs. JSA, James Spence Authenticating, they actually have two different kinds of certificates as well, and one they call witnessed. Their certificate numbers that start with a W are witnessed certificates, much like PSA's in the presence. So those are really good because you can actually get a little bit more out of that authentication by buying something that you know a representative was there to watch signed. There are other certificates, and I thought I'd walk you guys through a few, some of the big brands, so you can see what they look like. Steiner Sports has like a credit card size certificate, and all this certificate says is that the thing that accompanied this is real, and that you have to look at the number on the hologram on the item to actually look up the real certificate. Like this is just like a card that says go find the other card, basically. To things like Upper Deck, where Upper Deck has this, for those of you that have seen any Upper Deck authenticated items before, they have this cardboard envelope. It looks kind of like a greeting card almost. And when you open that up, they have all of their kind of technical terminology here about their 5-step process and how they do their autograph authentication. But then they also have a sticker that they put on that talks about the individual lot or time that the thing was signed. Like this one was actually signed on August 5th, 1996. I think this was a Jordan Camp autograph that I had gotten. It then has a authentication hologram at the bottom with a number on it. And that number will match the sticker number that's on the item. And that's how many of these authenticators, if you're getting a big item authenticated, operate. They take a matching hologram, and the one that they put on the item in the case of Upper Deck is much smaller. It's an oval. And they take that, they put it on, and they put this hologram on the certificate itself. Those are the only two holograms with that number on it that exist. They match each other, they go together. So if you have the certificate and the item with it on it, you have that kind of perfect authentication mix. Then you have some other authenticators. Dennis Rodman has his own main authentication company called Authentic Signings, and they actually include a picture of Rodman with the items that he was signing, so you have that kind of piece of authentication as well. Allen Iverson does very much the same thing. So there's all these different kinds of certificates. Now, who should you go with? Like if you're looking to get someone's autograph, someone in particular you want, which company should you really be going after? I guess is the real question that you might be asking yourself. And it really depends on the player. If a player is exclusively with someone, like if it's LeBron James or Michael Jordan, then you want to get an Upper Deck authenticated item. That's important because they only sign for Upper Deck. They don't sign for other companies. The same thing goes with Panini and Zion Williamson. He only signs for Panini. He's an exclusive. So if you see him with a certificate of authenticity from some other sports company, it's probably not as good. It's not as trustworthy on that particular player. One of the easiest ways to get authentic autographs from these top athletes these days is in packs of cards. That's probably where you've seen it most as well. Card companies started back in the mid-90s actually inserting cards that were personally autographed by the players. One of the first sets to do it was Skybox Autographics. So Fleer Skybox inserted these cards in at a rate of 1 in 288 packs. Really, really hard to pull these. Took me 15 years, but I actually made the entire, I think it was a 94 or 95 card set. So people like Kevin Garnett, Scottie Pippen, Grant Hill, Steve Nash was a rookie that year, Ray Allen, all in this set personally autographing the cards. Now the certification on the cards has changed over the years, the way that they actually show certification. Back in the day on Autographics, they just simply stamped right over the autograph using a kind of an embosser, an embossed stamp, right on that. That was it. They didn't mention on the back, like they didn't say we certify that the autograph is real or any of that stuff. Nope. They just stamped right on it. In more recent days, more recent years, cards like Upper Deck, they actually have, writing on the back of it. So like this Kobe Bryant, for instance, on the back says, "Congratulations, you've received a card personally autographed by Kobe Bryant." So they're very specific about it. And on this card in particular, they actually go further to say, this trading card was sent to Upper Deck directly from Kobe Bryant. So they actually tell you that they mailed the card out to him, got it signed, and got it back. In some cases, you'll see they'll say the card was either signed in the presence or was sent out and then returned or certified by the person, all of that kind of stuff. They all have some sort of language like that. Panini just says, I think, we guarantee the authenticity of the autograph. And they just leave it at that, so they don't go into the details. So that's been the way for years to get these autographs, authentic autographs, into packs, into to people. Now there are different kinds of autographs you're going to get in the packs, and so I thought I'd go through those a little bit, not to completely confuse. There are kind of three types, and then there's a non-authentic type. So there are three types of authentic autographs. One is the on-card autograph. So like this Kevin Garnett signed it right on the card. Pretty simple, just like you'd sign another item. So that's an on-card autograph. When you hear people talking about that, it's a card that was signed on the card itself. Then there are cards that have sticker autographs. And so what happened there is, instead of having all of the cards individually mailed out or piled up or any of that, and the athlete sitting there signing them, instead what they did was they had these stickers in a sheet or in a roll. I think it's mainly a sheet that they send out. And the athlete just signs all the stickers. Then the stickers are mailed back, and then the stickers are then placed on the cards. Now, while that sounds less interesting, especially to me, I much prefer an on-card to a sticker autograph. The reason a lot of these companies started doing that was because they were getting complaints from collectors demanding mint cards out of the pack. So all of you folks that grade your cards, and it drives you nuts when you open a pack and there's a rough edge or there's a corner that's bent and you're like, this is awful, how can this happen? Well, when a card is autographed and actually physically mailed out to a player, that player's signing 1,000 cards at one time and just tossing them. I remember seeing an Instagram video of Jason Tatum 2 or 3 years ago, during his rookie season 2 years ago, signing a bunch of the Opulence cards and just throwing them in a pile on a coffee table. And people went nuts on Instagram going, oh, this is why all my stuff is dinged. All of them are going to be awful condition. Look, the surface is going to be bad. To me, I'm like, it's awesome that he's signing them. I think it's great that he actually signed all of them. So what if it has a ding in it? Jason Tatum made that ding, you know? So there are kind of different trade-offs, but a lot of the card companies, they felt, and it started with Upper Deck back in the day, they got complaints about this with the Exquisite product. And, you know, it just, when you're paying for a premium product like that, people are expecting a nice mint condition card out of the pack. So you see more and more, like Prism is always stickers. More and more of these. Obsidian that just came out, stickers. But they're keeping the cards. It allows the cards to be found at a higher rate at Gem Mint, is basically why those stickers are being put on. And from the card company point of view, it's way easier, especially like in a rookie year, for them to get someone to sign a bunch of stickers and then hold on to them. Like Panini had literally been using Giannis's rookie autograph stickers up until this past year. Like 6 years. They used stickers that he signed 6 years ago. They've been using in every set since. Not every set. Like sometimes you'd see the kind of short GA auto. But some of them, like the Hoop set that came out last year, there was like Dominators. If you look at those cards, they actually have the stickers from his rookie year. Like, he literally signed them back when he was a rookie, and they're being stuck on cards now, 6, 7 years later. So it's crazy, but it does help them kind of in that zone too. It is better, in a lot of cases than having to wait for an autograph to be signed for 4 or 5 years, if you guys are still waiting for redemptions. So there is a trade-off with each of them. So that's on-card, sticker, and the third kind of authentic autograph that you can find on cards is called a cut autograph. So the bar is known for this, but one of the greatest examples I'd love to share with you guys is not actually in basketball at all. It's actually in the presidential cards. So if you've seen those cards that are autographed by President Trump, you know where they actually came from? It's just crazy. This will blow your mind. So these cards, they have these cards now that have his autograph in the center, and it's got this kind of cool, it looks almost like a check background, like the bottom of a check that you would endorse kind of thing. And people might actually assume originally like that he signed a check and they just cut it out of that, because that's what a cut signature was back when. It was taking a signature off of a check or another document and putting it in something. But Trump's signatures didn't actually come from that. This is nuts. But back, I think maybe 2014, 2015, he had a book that came out. And the book was $18, or you could pay $28 for an autographed copy. And so this company, this card company, had no affiliation with Trump, no contract to get him autographing their cards. They just went out and bought like 100 books for $28 a piece. And then they cut his autograph right out of the page of the book and then embedded it into this card. It has gold foil. It looks really nice. And it turned this $28 book, that little piece of the book that they took out, is now a $1,500 card. So it's tricky sometimes, and you see that more often with kind of the legendary players that aren't signing anymore because they've unfortunately passed away. And so you'll see cut autographs from them, like a Babe Ruth or something like that. You'll see, in a product, you're like, wow, that's amazing. They're just cutting it out of something else that was already authenticated. And so for that company, they're not even re-authenticating the autograph. They're just saying, hey, look, he signed 10,000 books. We bought 100 of them. We cut out the thing. It's an authentic autograph. So realizing the path of some of these autographs is also helpful to notice whether or not they're authentic. It's always about the source. It always traces back if you go back far enough. The fourth type of autograph, so those are 3 types of authentic autographs, but the fourth type of autograph that you can also see in packs is what's called a facsimile. So it's a copy of a signature. So like this card, for instance, where Kevin Durant's autograph is just all shimmery and cool, that's a facsimile autograph. That's not a real autograph. He didn't sign the card. He just signed the signature once. They digitized it, and then they printed it on all these other cards. So there are card sets throughout the history of cards that have had facsimile autographs on them. They're still collectible. They're just not hand-signed. It's not the same kind of a signature or autograph. So if you're going through and you're searching online for an autograph, Be mindful of that. If the word facsimile comes up, if the word reprint comes up, or even the letters RP, which stands for reprint, realize that that card is not an original signature. In some cases now on eBay, you even see people making copies of the entire card that's autographed. Even some jersey cards. They just take a picture of it and then print it. So it doesn't even have the jersey pieces anymore. It just has pictures of jersey pieces. There are a lot of people that are making fraudulent copies of some of the greatest cards out there. I have one example for you. The Kobe Bryant right here that I was showing earlier. This card, even though there's only 50 of them made, 50 in existence, there's a first year of autofocus. Believe it or not, there are fraudulent copies of this right now on the market. Now you're probably thinking, how on earth could you fake a card like this? I mean, it's made out of solid plastic. It's not just something you could make up on your computer and print out and try and pass off as a real card. I mean, this is a serious piece of art that's been done, and you would need some serious machines to make it. So who's manufacturing the card? Like, who could possibly do that? Well, the answer to that question is actually quite interesting. It's actually Upper Deck, the card company themselves, is actually the ones that manufactured the fakes. Probably sounds weird as well, but these cards were cards that they sent out well in advance of these actually coming out. You see, these were promo samples. They were sent to stores, they were sent to distributors as a teaser for this brand new set coming out, since it was the first year of autofocus. And the player that they picked on the particular promotional card was Kobe Bryant. Now, there's a couple of things about this card that are different than the real one. Again, they only made 50 of the real one, but they made thousands of these. The first obvious difference is there's no autograph on the sample card. Secondly, it actually says the word sample on the back. It's probably the most obvious one. And thirdly, the picture of Kobe is actually different. So you can see here, he's passing the ball, and here he's shooting it. So in the real one, he's shooting. In the sample card, he's passing. So how does a card like this end up with an autograph on it and then end up being passed off as the original? Well, some people simply got these cards for $10 or $20 a piece. They're not expensive because they made so many of them. They then just simply forged Kobe's autograph on here. And a lot of the forgeries don't even look close to what Kobe's autograph looked like. So they're forging that autograph. And then you'd probably say, well, I wouldn't be stupid enough to fall for that. I mean, who would be dumb enough to fall for a card that has sample written on the back, an autograph that doesn't even look like his autograph? I mean, who could possibly fall for that? Well, believe it or not, these cards have actually been done and sent off to Beckett, and then they've come back graded. In fact, there's one on eBay that was graded a 9.5 gem mint with a 10 autograph. Beckett didn't even know that it was fake. So that's how bad it is. So it's really important that you look at the details of each of these cards before you buy them, especially a high dollar card like this. Like right now, this card is around a $4,000 card. A forgery just sold for $4,000 recently. So the real deal, out of 50, about a $4,000 card. Before you buy a $4,000 card, you want to know everything you can about it. And that's something that just you need to do no matter what. The same goes for anything. If you're going to buy a car, you want to look under the hood a little bit. You want to know something about it to make sure everything's right and authentic before you go out buying it. Now this, unfortunately, is not an isolated incident. Cards like this sample card, it gets worse. So Topps, back in the day, had printed a lot of extra copies of some of their autograph cards that never got autographed. Those cards have since gotten out into the wild. People have picked them up, and they've started putting fake autographs on them. So again there, like one of the sets in particular is the co-signers set. A bunch of those cards got out unsigned, and people have since gone and forged an autograph on them. So those kinds of things, it's really tough, because they don't say sample on them. They're actually identical to the original card. There's nothing different about them, except the player didn't sign them. Some other person did. So how do you tell on something like that? You just have to look for consistency. You have to have some knowledge of those cards. So if Kobe Bryant on his co-signers, in the case of Kobe Bryant, he signed with a very thin pen, thin marker. So if you see a co-signer's card with a big thick marker in a different color, it's a dead giveaway that he didn't actually sign that one. He also had a distinct way of signing at that point, as did a lot of players as they go through the evolution of their autographs. So you just need to make sure that you know enough about what you're buying before you put that money in, because there are very good forgeries out there these days that can get passed. There are also very bad forgeries out there as well. If you see cards like Michael Jordan being authenticated by something other than Upper Deck, the likelihood is they're probably not real. So you just have to look out. You have to look for comparisons. Go after the things that you know are real and make sure that what you're buying at least looks a lot like that to give yourself a little bit more. One third thing I wanted to point out as well about some of the fakes in the market, and this is where it gets really deep, is sometimes you may even find an item with an authentic hologram. So let's take Michael Jordan, for instance. The jersey behind me here on my wall has one of those authentic holograms on it that was put on it right after Jordan signed the jersey. It wouldn't be hard to remove that sticker because it's stuck on fabric and stick it on a card. And some people have done that. They've actually taken the stickers off, stuck them on cards, and then they have a certificate of authenticity with the matching hologram and number, and now it looks like it's authenticating the card instead of the original jersey that it was on. So those are things that you have to worry about as well. Always look at the autograph, make sure it looks authentic. You can also contact Upper Deck and ask them, does this serial number coincide with a trading card, or does it coincide with something else? And you can ask them when it was signed and stuff like that. Since 2001, Upper Deck started a database and they took pictures of a lot of the items. So I have a shoe signed by Jordan, and that shoe, if you look up the serial number online, they actually have a picture of the shoe that he signed. So really perfect authentication there. Even if someone took the sticker off of my shoe and stuck it on something else, the minute you look it up online, you would say, no, that sticker belonged to that shoe with that exact autograph on it. So things like that are really great when companies go out of their way to photograph everything that's been signed to really help with that authenticity. Leaf, a few years back, had a whole series of Patrick Ewing cards. Patrick Ewing hadn't signed for a card company in the longest time, and they actually took photographs of every single card that he signed, along with the patch pieces that were in them. So there was one series out of 99, and there was a series, I think, out of 20 and 10, and then they had out of 3 or 5 and a 1 of 1. And they took pictures of all of the cards. And what was so great about that is not only did you get to see the authentic autograph on each one, but you also got to see that they didn't replace the patch piece in the card either, which is another problem in the card industry of things that have been happening. So lots of things to think about, but if you really want an authentic item, you have to spend the time just to make sure that what you're getting is actually real. On top of the forgeries that are out there, there are actually some accepted fakes in the market that people still trade and sell as real cards. Yeah, strange, right? So there's a couple of examples of this. I'm actually going to show you stuff from the celebrity world where I started collecting autographs when I was a kid before they had basketball autographs I could get out of packs. So I used to write away to celebrities. I used to write letters to them. And I got some great stuff back. Jim Carrey, spank you very much. Jay Leno, two of my favorite guys. Two guys that I really wanted to meet. Television personalities, people I really looked up to. Unfortunately, the Jim Carrey is something that we would call a reprint, where they actually took a photo that he signed, they photographed it, and then they just printed a bajillion copies of the same thing. So he never touched this photograph. He touched another one, and this is just a copy of it, unfortunately. Now, Jay Leno, on the other hand, his autograph is separate from the photo. It's done in nice blue marker, and you can actually see on the back of it blue bleeding through at certain parts where you would be pushing the marker a little bit harder. So when I got this in the mail, I was super excited about it. Little drawing and everything. It was really cool. I only found out later that this was an Autopen. An Autopen is simply a machine that can take a marker and it can mimic the movement of the original signature. So Jay Leno signs his name, and then this Autopen is able to mimic the exact movements of the marker. And so instead of him signing thousands and thousands of 8x10s and sending them out, he has a machine that's sitting there doing it on its own. Sometimes they have a stamping machine. It can do that as well. So it gives that inky look. It looks much more authentic, but unfortunately, it's not real. Other cases, they have things that used to be called Secretarial. Back in the day, way back when, if you used to send in like 40, 50 years ago, if you wrote away for an autograph, in a lot of cases, the celebrities didn't sign them. Their secretaries signed them instead. Yes, way less cool. Obviously, the athlete didn't then sign it. It doesn't feel like that personal piece, but it's still limited. It's still kind of their official autograph. We've heard the same thing about some NBA athletes whose moms may or may not have signed their cards. But, I've heard the same thing about a brother signing it or a friend signing a bunch of things. Some of these guys, they just don't want to take the time. That's sad to me, because if I were in that position and someone were really wanting my autograph, I would certainly take the time to give it. Realizing what that means to someone and that it's a cherished item. Some of the autographs that I've had for decades. And so the 2 seconds it would have taken someone to sign the autograph means the world to me and to a lot of collectors. So if you're an athlete watching this, please sign your stuff. We appreciate it. We treasure it. We'd love it to be real. So that's just something else that you guys should realize. Shaquille O'Neal is another example of one that actually has 2 different autographs. A lot of signers, a lot of athletes, over time their autograph changes. So LeBron James had a kind of like, it looked like a 23 originally in the front of his autograph. And then a few years back, he actually announced that he was changing the way he signed autographs, and now it's much more kind of swoopy, streamlined. And that's normal. It's normal to see an athlete's autograph evolve over time, or devolve in some cases. They usually get bigger and messier over time, from what I've seen. But Shaquille O'Neal has a different case where he's kind of going back and forth between 2 autograph styles. If you look at the H in his signature, sometimes it's just a straight, like, kind of 2 hits, and then sometimes there's an additional bump. And this has gone back and forth over the years, where cards, on-card autographs, sticker autographs, everything have kind of gone back and forth, which has made a lot of collectors think that maybe half of the autographs are being signed by someone else. Again, these players are certifying that they're signing all their stuff, so we really don't know. We don't get to see that. And in some cases, the card companies are mailing the things out. They're having a contractual guarantee with that player that they're signing the stuff, but they're not all watching them having it done, so they don't necessarily know. So that's just stuff to look out for as you're collecting in different players or different ways. But we hope in all of these kinds of things that the players are actually signing the autographs that we buy. So what's better than getting an autograph in a pack, getting an autograph that's authenticated from a great authentication company? Getting an autograph in person. That's the absolute best. You have your own memories behind it, and you know it's real because you were there. That's the coolest part. So how do you go about getting an autograph yourself? Well, athletes can be kind of tough, but there are kind of 2 ways that graphers, otherwise known as autographers, people that go out in search of the athlete's autographs, have been doing it. One way is going to the games. If you get seats near where the players come in and out of the stadium, there are chances during the pregame where they're doing shoot-arounds, and also sometimes at the end of the game, especially if they won the game, for you to kind of hold some stuff over with a marker and have the athlete sign it. The other way is to actually get them at their hotel. So if they're a visiting team and they're staying at a hotel, that's a great place to do it. I know it seems totally stalkerish to be at the player's hotel, but if you do wait enough time there and you are kind of in the right place at the right time, a lot of the athletes do sign. Now, the other place you can go to get an autograph is a show. So Nationals is a great place to go. Unfortunately, this year we don't know if it's still happening. It's already been pushed off, but they have a lot of basketball players there, more so than any other show that I see during the year. And then, of course, if you're in any other sports involved with that too, lots of card shows will have baseball players, hockey players, football players, and the like. Those shows, you have to pay money for the autograph, and it can be quite expensive. Everything from, $20 for a Darryl Strawberry autograph to, $300 for Julius Erving, and well beyond that as well. So some of these guys charge a lot. And they charge more for inscriptions. They charge more for certain items. So if you want them to sign a card, it's one thing. They call that a flat. Like if it's a card or an 8x10, something flat, kind of a photograph. Anything that's larger than an 8x10, though, now you're paying more. A jersey, a ball, sometimes they have all different rates for those things. The cool thing about a show is it's controlled. So the athlete is sitting down, they're in a nice space, they can actually do a nice autograph, they can spend a few seconds with you, maybe you can snap a picture with them if they don't mind. That's kind of a fun thing about it. That's different than going to a game. If you're going to a game or an event where you're trying to get the athlete, it's going to be a quick scribble. They're going to grab the item. You're not going to be able to tell them where you want it signed. It's just going to get signed and back to you. They may even not even be taking a marker from you. So if you have a black jersey and they have a black marker, you might get a black autograph on a black jersey and not be able to see it afterwards. So there are some great advantages to going to shows when the athletes are there. Some tips for you guys if you go to a show or if you go in person. One thing is, if you have the choice of markers, I would absolutely recommend using Sharpie's Extreme Fade Resistant. I wish that the autograph companies, the card companies use these, and they haven't caught on to this yet. But I've done in personal testing, I've had to sign my own cards here for people recently, and the regular Sharpies, they kind of rub off. Black markers especially actually turn yellow over time. The Extreme Fade Resistant sticks better to plastic coated stuff, and so that's just a better marker to go with, and Sharpie is saying that it's going to be much longer lasting, where it's not going to get the sun damage or fading that we've seen over the years with so many of those. So they do sell those at at Walmart and Staples and Amazon. You can buy those. Highly recommend it. The other thing that I would recommend is if you're getting an autograph done in person, photograph it or video it. I mean, that's like the best proof you can have. Forget about, and I know a lot of graphers, they go out there, they go to a game, they get something signed, and then they send it off to PSA to get authenticated. And I'm just like, why? You were there. You saw the player sign it. Why do you need to authenticate it? And every time I ask that question, they say, well, if I want to sell it, people are going to want it authenticated. And I'm like, dude, just show me a video of it being signed, and that's more authentication than I need. I don't care about PSA's opinion. I don't care what they have to say after the fact. If I can see a video of the athlete signing the exact item that I got, that is awesome. That's like the best thing in the world. And so every time I get autographs done, like I got my this basketball signed by Dennis Rodman, I shot a video of it until he asked me to stop shooting it. So I got about halfway through the ball, but I at least have that video proof of it being done. And that's just so cool because it really does show the authenticity. On the topic of that, one of the greatest innovations I ever saw in the professional autograph market was something that Upper Deck did years ago. They called it PenCam. And what it was, and I think it only lasted about a year or two, but what they did was they strapped a camera to the marker that the athlete was using to sign, and they actually shot a video of the autograph from the point of view of the marker. You got the video on the CD-ROM, you could pop it into your computer, and you could actually watch the 3 seconds that Michael Jordan took to sign my jersey. And not only that, but you also got to see they had short videos of the beginning of the signing and the end of the signing as well. So you got to see Jordan setting up with 123 of these jerseys to sign, and then you also get to see the end of it 20 minutes later when he's all done. They're sitting back after being finished. But you get the actual video, the time, the date. I know exactly to the second when my jersey was signed by Michael Jordan. So that is like the epitome of awesome authentication, and I wish every autograph I had something like this. But you guys, if you're out there getting autographs, you can create something like that just with your cell phone. Shoot the video when you can to have that proof. If nothing else, even if you're just keeping it for you, it's a great memory to see like, oh yeah, that's what he was wearing when he did that. Or, oh yeah, man, I remember that game so well, and seeing all these kinds of things. It just adds to the story and to the elements behind it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it gave you lots of information about autographs, collecting, how to tell fakes from the real thing, real things from the fakes, and the difference between a lot of these things within the market. I've been collecting autographs since I was a kid. It's really been a passion of mine, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well if you venture into it. As always, I'm always open to questions. You can feel free to shoot me an email, shoot me a message online, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Please do connect with me on Instagram. My handle there is Basketball Card Guy. You can check me out on there. Give me a follow, shoot me a DM anytime. I also do lots of live videos on Instagram, answering questions live over that video platform. So it's a great way to interact in that zone. You can also check me out online on my official website, basketballcardguy.com. Once again, you've been watching the Basketball Card Show. I thank you so much. Please, if you like these episodes, please subscribe here on YouTube. I would really appreciate that support as well, and share it with other collectors so that they too can be in the know. Thanks so much.